Most retirees don't regret selling, they regret what they actually bought next. And that regret almost never sounds like, we chose the wrong house. No, it sounds like this: we didn't think we'd have to move again. And that sentence is literally the beginning of the second retiree move. And that second move is the one people swear they would never actually do. And here's the part that should actually bother you in a good way, though: the people who actually get this wrong, they aren't careless, they're responsible. They did what everybody told them to do: downsize, simplify, and reduce. And they still end up completely exhausted. Not because the home they bought is bad, but because the home quietly asks more of them every day than they had originally expected. So if you're watching this and thinking, this might be our last move, then you need, honestly, a different goal. You don't need to find a smaller house. Your goal is to remove friction without shrinking your life. And that's what we're going to do here today. So by the time you're considering your next move, you've already thought about aging in place, you've thought about your family, you've thought about the proximity, and now the question changes. If you move, what kind of home actually supports this new phase of life? Not this year, but the next 15. And this is where most people make a subtle mistake. They downsize square footage, but they don't redesign any daily friction. A smaller home does not automatically mean an easier life. In fact, I've seen retirees leave a larger home and end up much more tired in the downsized one, because less space sometimes means more effort. And that's the real trap. The first filter isn't size, it's layout, honestly. When you walk through a home, ask yourself, if I lived here for 10 years, what parts of this house would slowly start asking more and more of me? Not just today, but later. And true one floor living is rare. A ranch with laundry in the basement is not one floor living. A bedroom upstairs, just in case, is not one floor living. A half bath on the main level does not replace a full bath. These details seem small, but they aren't, and they tend to compound friction. And then there's the garage. Most retirees underestimate this. The garage stops being storage and becomes transition control. Can you open your car door fully? Can you step out without twisting and bending? Is there any kind of ice risk? Is there space to move without squeezing and squirming past everything in the garage? That's not convenience, that's true stability. And now the kitchen, guys. Not the finishes, it's not about the style, it's about function. Where do the everyday items live? Are they overhead? Are they too low? Do you have to reach and stretch and bend or improvise? A beautiful kitchen that asks you to perform for it, it gets old faster than you would actually think. Now let me give you the regret story, because this is where it becomes real. Again, the names, they never matter, but a couple I helped sold a longtime family home. They literally did everything right. They bought something smaller, it was much newer, it was clean and fresh, and they were proud of themselves. In the first 6 months, it honestly felt great. Then winter hit and routines began to take over. Laundry was downstairs, not a big deal at first. Just a few trips as it started as, then it became a few trips every week, and then it became a few trips when they were too tired, and then it became a few trips when one of them started having some real knee issues. And that's when the house started winning. Not because it was unsafe by any means, but because it was really demanding. They didn't move because they panicked. They moved because they were tired of negotiating with their own home. And that's what regret actually looks like. It's never dramatic, it's just constant. Here's the uncomfortable truth: the best retirement homes feel boring on day one, and they look brilliant 5 years down the line. They don't impress guests either, they just reduce effort. And now let's talk about noise and proximity inside the building, because condos and attached communities can be fantastic options. They can also be exhausting if you're sensitive to sound. Footsteps above you, doors slamming and closing, shared walls, and at 75, peace becomes more valuable than square footage. So you don't just ask, is this place nice? You ask, does the surrounding community stay calm? Now let's address something even a little bit more subtle. Many retirees choose based on what looks and feels familiar. I've always had a basement. I like extra rooms. I don't want to feel cramped, and familiarity is comforting, but comfort isn't always alignment. The goal isn't to shrink your life, it's to remove the unnecessary friction. And this is where people tend to overcorrect. They sell 2,800 square feet and buy 1,100. And then the adult kids come and visit, and the grandkids need to stay over, and the holidays happen, and suddenly the house feels very tight. The solution wasn't smaller, it was smarter. Smarter means asking if there's flexible space. Is there separation if needed? Is there room for temporary life changes? Can this home absorb my family without completely overwhelming me? Now let's talk about maintenance, because Michigan isn't forgiving. Snow, roof age, exterior materials, driveway slope, entry steps. Some retirees, they love HOAs. Some discover, though, that they traded yard work for monthly fees, assessments, and limited control. You need to understand what you're outsourcing and what you're actually not. And then there's the resale reality, guys. You may believe this is your last move. Many people do. But life changes, health changes, family changes. Buying something hyper specific can make your future transition even harder. The best retirement houses and homes are functional and honestly broadly desirable. By now, you should feel a shift. This isn't house shopping, it's life design. And the moment you see it that way, you start choosing and shopping completely different. And there's one final truth most people don't want to face. Even if you choose the perfect next home, you still have to get there. You have to sell your current home, navigate timing, avoid being temporarily homeless, avoid carrying two properties, avoid being forced into any kind of bad terms. And here's the part retirees don't say out loud. The most common nightmare isn't choosing the wrong house. It's realizing that you've sold and you don't have a clean place to go. And that's where good plans begin to unravel. And that's where stress spikes. And that's where people begin to lose leverage. And that's what we need to talk about next, because buying the right home is only half of the decision.